TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announces a series of new measures in a bid to tackle an inflationary spiral which the country evidently plunged into. Israel Defense Forces, Border Police, and ISA or Shin Bet Special Operations Units apprehend some 40 suspected terror operatives over the course of the past 48 hours alone. Israeli President Isaac Herzog highlights Jerusalem's aspiration to further deepen relations with Ankara. The state of Israel has evidently entered an inflationary spiral. Amid rising inflation and overall prices throughout Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, alongside Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, stressed his government's proactive response to the alarming situation which impacts every Israeli household.
המשק שלנו נכנס לסחרור אינפלציוני. האינפלציה והריבית בעקבותיה מרקיעות שחקים. כל עלייה בחשמל, במים, בדלק, בארנונה גוררת עלייה נוספת. המחיר הזה משפיע על המשפחות.
As part of the announcement, Premier Netanyahu listed a series of measures which would be taken to lower the cost of living in Israel. The measures will be enforced for a one-year period, after which the government will be forced to reassess the situation and act accordingly.
אנחנו בעצם מכניסים כאן מקלות בגלגלי האינפלציה. ובכן, הנה מה שנעשה. דבר ראשון, צעד ראשון זה הקפאת ארנונה לשנה. צעד שני זה ביטול ההתייקרויות האחרונות בדלק, הפחתה של 10 אגורות לליטר. צעד שלישי זה קיצוץ ממוצע של 70% בהתייקרות החשמל, התייקרות שכבר התרחשה בתחילת החודש. צעד רביעי זה קיצוץ, בבקשה להראות, כן, במקום 8% רק 2.5% החשמל יעלה, ויהיה גם פיצוי כספי מלא ל-300,000 נזקקים, שר האוצר תכף יפרט. הצעד הרביעי הוא קיצוץ של 70% בהתייקרות המים. כלומר, אנחנו כאן מטפלים בארבעת מחוללי האינפלציה כצעד מיידי וחשוב, כדי להתחיל לסובב את גלגל יוקר המחיה.
It is important to know that the mentioned reductions are of looming and already implemented increases. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, for his part, asserted that in addition to the cited emergency measures, the Finance Ministry would prepare larger reforms in the context of the state budget that will aim to increase competition and reduce bureaucratic red tape and regulations over time. In other news, the West Bank districts of Judea and Samaria were plagued by repeated acts of terror last night, including 3 separate attacks in which 2 vehicles bearing Palestinian license plates in 2 separate locations opened fire toward IDF posts before managing to flee the scene. No injuries were reported, and the IDF announced respective manhunts after those responsible. Separately, an Israeli farmer in the southern hills of Hebron was attacked by an 18-year-old Palestinian man with a knife, and while the Israeli farmer sustained moderate wounds, the IDF confirmed that the terrorist was neutralized at the scene. While the IDF did not provide additional details, according to local Israeli sources familiar with the details of the attack, the Palestinian attacker, apparently a resident of Daharia, was killed by an electrician working at the farm. Meanwhile, IDF, ISA or Shin Bet, and Border Police Special Operations Units conducted counter-terrorism activity throughout the West Bank districts of Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley overnight as part of Operation Wavebreaker. As a result, 17 suspected terror operatives were apprehended last night, in addition to 16 suspected terror operatives that were arrested a night prior. Separately, the Border Police Counterterrorism Yamam Unit, in cooperation with the ISA and IDF, conducted a daring operation in the old city of Nablus this morning, during which a senior member of the so-called Lion's Den terror group was apprehended alongside 4 other suspects. It is important to know that an exchange of fire was reported during the operation, during which a number of Palestinian militants were reportedly hit. In contrast, No injuries were reported among the Israeli forces. According to the Border Police spokesperson's unit, the senior Lion's Den member, who was apprehended, was directly responsible for a number of shooting attacks against Israeli security forces and civilians throughout the northern Samaria region. In other yet related news, following extensive intelligence gathering efforts, Border Police forces conducted an operation in the West Bank town of Kalkilia with the aim of apprehending 3 suspects that allegedly hurled Molotov cocktails toward a man post within the Border Police base earlier last month.
בתחילת מבצע או בסיום מבצע סוגרים חשבון. אני מזכיר לכולם, לפני חודש וחצי נזרקו בקת"בים על העמדה הצפונית. הצלחנו להוציא את השמות של אותם אנשים. זה לא היה פשוט, והיום אנחנו הולכים לסגור עליהם מעגל.
At the culmination of the operation, the 3 wanted suspects were successfully apprehended and transferred to the ISA or Shin Bet for further questioning. Turning to Jerusalem, where President Isaac Herzog warmly welcomed the new Turkish ambassador to Israel, Sakir Özkan Torunlar, who presented the Israeli head of state with his credentials. As one of the architects of the renewed Israeli-Turkish relations, President Herzog voiced confidence in the tightening ties and stressed that Ankara and Jerusalem must cooperate in many fields that will ultimately bring progress and growth for both nations.
אין זה סוד שמדינת ישראל ואני באופן אישי מייחסים חשיבות גדולה למערכת היחסים ההיסטורית בין ישראל לטורקיה. אלו קשרים שידעו בעבר גם משברים, אך מצויים כעת לשמחתנו במגמה מעודדת מאוד. ישראל וטורקיה יכולות וצריכות לשתף פעולה בתחומים רבים, שיביאו קדמה וצמיחה לשני העמים.
President Herzog further seized the opportunity to relay an invitation to his Turkish counterpart, asserting that Erdogan's visit to Israel would undoubtedly contribute to deepening the ties between the two countries.
הנשיא ארדואן הדגיש בשנה האחרונה גם בשיחותיו איתי וגם פומבית עד כמה הוא מכיר בחשיבותה של השותפות בין ישראל לטורקיה. ואני מבקש בהזדמנות הזו, כנשיא מדינת ישראל, להזמין את הנשיא ארדואן לביקור בישראל, שאני בטוח שיתרום להעמקת הקשרים ושיתופי הפעולה בין מדינותינו. אני בטוח כי כולנו נמשיך לפעול לחיזוק היחסים בין המדינות, ונפעל תוך כבוד הדדי ושילוב זרועות, למען עתיד טוב ומבטיח יותר לאזרחינו ולאזורנו.
While the Turkish ambassador highlighted Turkey's keen aspiration to deepen relations with Israel, Ankara's chief focus at this stage is seemingly on bolstering its ties with Moscow and utilizing its growing relations with Russia for the purpose of potentially normalizing relations with Damascus.
İşte bu sabah Sayın Putin'le bir görüşmem oldu. Etraflıca Rusya-Ukrayna savaşını ele aldık. Bunun yanında neler bölgede yapabileceğimizi konuştuk. Türkiye-Rusya ilişkilerini değerlendirdik. Rusya, Türkiye, Suriye olarak istihbarat, savunma bakanlarımızın Moskova'da biliyorsunuz bir araya gelişleriyle bir süreç başlattık. Ve ardından inşallah Dışişleri Bakanlarımızı yine üçlü olarak bir araya getireceğiz. Daha sonra da gelişmelere göre liderler olarak bir araya geleceğiz.
The meeting referred to by President Erdogan took place on December 28th, when Turkish Defense Minister Hulusi Akar and MİT Intelligence Chief Hakan Fidan met with their Russian and Syrian counterparts in Moscow.
Bizim orada dile getirdiğim en önemli hususlardan biri, bizim herhangi bir şekilde başka bir amacımız olmadığını, bizim tek amacımızın Suriye içinde tehdit olan PKK, YPG, DAEŞ gibi terör örgütlerine ve teröristlere karşı mücadele ve onları eser getirmek amacını güttüğümüzü, ülkemizi ve milletimizin güvenliğini sağlamak için gayret gösterdiğimizi, hudutlarımızın güvenliğini sağlamak için gayret gösterdiğimizi kendine ilave ettik. Bu çalışmalar çerçevesinde Suriye'den Türkiye'ye göçün de olabildiğince engellenmesi ve daha fazla göç olmaması konusunda alınmış tedbirleri dile getirdik. Bu manada yapılan çalışmaların önümüzdeki günlerde yapılacak çalışmalarla birlikte bölgeye ve Suriye'ye barışa ve istikrara giden yolda ciddi önemli katkılar sağlayabileceğini değerlendiriyoruz.
Ankara's top defense official went on to highlight that additional discussion with Moscow and Damascus will take place very soon.
Bu daha sonra bu toplantıların devam etmesi konusunda mutabık kaldık. Bizim dileğimiz, temennimiz bir an önce bölgeye barışın, huzurun, istikrarın gelmesi. Bu yönde elimizden geldiğince bugüne kadar yaptığımız gibi bundan sonra da bize düşen görevleri yapmaya devam edeceğiz. Gerekli katkıları sağlayacağız. Ve önümüzdeki günlerde umudumuz, dileğimiz bir an önce barışın, huzurun bölgeye gelmesi.
It is important to know that Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu announced earlier today that a trilateral meeting between Turkey, Russia, and Syria will take place in early February. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. We would like to continue encouraging you. Pray for our persecuted brothers and sisters worldwide, as well as for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you again tomorrow at the same time.